programs, you build platforms that will match up people. You don't have to have any inventory. I want to match up all the people in the world to describe the discoveries that they have on their own and let them be evaluated with crowdsourcing, as opposed to Western medicine. Sarah will have to talk about this a little bit, but Western medicine and Western doctors and this specialists are convinced that unless it has a randomized clinical trial, this matched group, that can discover some statistically important difference between this generic pharmaceutical product and this other generic, so they can make $1 billion on that product. That's where the research gets paid for. The research on how to get my feet working so I can walk, de nada. And that's what I'm interested in. That's what I'm going to do. Sarah, what do you think about these anecdotal patient stories versus the medical clinical trial?
Well, your mind palace really resonates with me. I am working in the field of pediatric pathology, so it's very generalized. We can see a biopsy of anything, any disease in the world. So you kind of have to know, feel like you have to know all of medicine. I go to lectures many times a day on wildly different subjects, from things like this to all kinds of medical topics, technology topics, genetics more and more. And some things I find I have a place to hang the fact. And some newer areas come at me, and I haven't built the room yet. And it's very interesting to me, and I want to remember it, but I don't have the room. I do a lot of teaching to trainees, so yeah, all your ideas about learning are resonating, and from that perspective, it can help medicine, even though it's not technically a research study.
I think there needs to be a balance between the scientific method, the technology algorithm, the problem-solving process, and then shifting over to more the heuristics that humans use, and the anecdotal hacks, life hacks, that they're all a continuum. And in terms of, and the part that's being left on the plate, now that we're, according to Daniel Pink, gone past the digital age, and the new age is the conceptual age, where things like, what is the meaning of, it depends upon what the meaning of is. And it depends on other arguments about meaning. And the issues that are important are, how can you compare and contrast the similarities and differences of the real meaning of X? And that understanding and that knowledge and wisdom is a more human thing than understanding the facts and the details and the rules and the truth. So the frames of mind begin to open up different things.
You know, if you look at the history of art and the path from traditional art perspective to modernism, okay? There's an evolution. It's a big thing. The artist used to direct everything. They used to give you perspective, they used to tell you this is space, this is how it is, and then it eventually evolved to the buyer, to the not the artist, the artist giving you ideas, and then it becomes conceptual, the burden becomes on the viewer. So it totally revolutionizes what the concept of art is. And that's why so many people have a problem with modern art, because it's so conceptual, right? Well, this is a similar, that's an abstraction, but this is a similar kind of thing, I think. What you're trying to do is to change, what is it, that thing that move the cheese? You're trying to get people to not have the artist tell us everything. We have to figure out some way to codify and systematize that conceptual. That, I don't know if that's making sense, but
The
concept.
it's clear to all of us that realistic art is one kind of appreciation. And abstract Picasso art is another kind. And it takes real conceptual understanding to be able to see and appreciate art that you weren't used to looking at, that you couldn't see the patterns, that in a Picasso painting you couldn't see the repeating patterns and the similarities and the genius of it all. So we've come from a world where we all know what it means not to be able to read. What is that? What do they call it?
Illiterate?
Dyslexia.
Dyslexia. Yeah.
What is it called when you don't know how to draw?
Is there a word?
Well, I call it dysartistica. And we need to, for a Renaissance person, which I would like to be, and for a balanced person that is ready to take on the human responsibility when all the drudge work and all the things that can be done by robots not only are not available, but you don't get paid for them anymore. And we may have to have a guaranteed income to get some stipend, but people are going to have to learn to do those things that we've tried to not do, because you can't, they're not needed. And we're living in very interesting times. And well, I think everyone's thank you for these questions, because it really helps me focus on what my next step will be. And I'm going to be working to have those magic hooks and examples that can demonstrate, and maybe if I can show how I learned to memorize Somewhere Over the Rainbow. Here's a pattern that I recognize that I hadn't noticed before. The first measure of the song was about passion. My 5 steps are passion, mission, vision, organization, and execution. Mm-hmm. And I mapped the song so that the first one was about passion. A passion for there's a land that I heard of once in a lullaby. It's a more vague, passionate, sensitive thing. The second stanza was there. Somewhere over the rainbow, skies are blue, and the dreams that you dare to dream come true. The priority, the mission, is to make your dreams come true.
That was the song. In case anybody wasn't there, he is absolutely amazing singing.
And then in the third step, it moves into the more it shifts from the repetition of the first two stanzas, and it says, "Someday I'll wish upon a star and wake up where the stars are far beyond me, where troubles melt like lemon drops," and I was able to map that to the problem, the dream, the vision, the evaluation.
But the thing is, he started out by telling us that he had no idea how to sing. His whole life he didn't know how to sing. And that Ray Hornblower taught him that there was a system that anybody could learn how to sing. And now he can sing. He can sing on key.
And sing well.
And sings, so the point is, how did you, I can't see how you apply those principles to learn how to sing, but if you can figure out how to show people how a non-singer can learn how to sing.
Well, I think he taught us tonight. He said it's all about the guttural.
I know, but it's a big thing to all of a sudden, it's like you were saying anybody can draw.
And he learned all that in April.
I think with Ray Hornblower, where he's focused on one part, my conceptual framework is the bathe of the whole brain, mind, and body. He was showing you how to get the body to relax, and practices that would help you sound better. But he wasn't showing you how to memorize that song.
Oh, I see.
And he wasn't showing you how to find patterns in the first song you learned, so when you learn the second song, quote, as Aristotle would say, by heart, you say, I think I've learned this song before. I think I can draw upon the lessons I learned in committing to memory that first song and being able to perform it in a public place, and so that you have a upward spiral of enhanced experience. And the more you do, the more you can do.
It's like you're requiring people to be analytical in a new way, but when you use the word passionate, I would say you have to be obsessed. You're asking people to become so totally focused and obsessed that they are going to grow in a new way. You're saying you've got to become obsessed, you've got to become focused, and you've got to concentrate on this particular task.
Well, let me try this. The approach to creative problem solving that I've picked up on starts with passion. If it's something that you're not obsessed with, that you really care about, but it's something that your uncle or well-meaning friend said, you really got to do this, and you don't care. You have to start in this framework of figuring all the ways to find out what you really care about, and not what's going to make money, and you better get a job that's going to make money, you better get a job that does. How do you find out what your passion is? And the structure layers it so that many questions you can ask to begin helping yourself sort out what you're passionate about, and then how do you establish your priority? By deconstructing it in terms of your interests, your roles and responsibilities, your values and philosophy, and your priorities.
I know, but what if someone's passive aggressive? If someone's passive aggressive, they're never going to be able to fit into this model.
Well, in your case,
I'm not. I'm aggressive.
Well, anyway,
I'm just curious.
let's wrap it up. And if you
I just want to say this. I'm going to contribute, as much as I can. Not because I'm totally sold on this, because I think he's just fascinating.
Yes.
And just the thought of this human brain, this mapping of a human brain is beyond me. So it's good luck to you.
Good.
And I will contribute.
Well, we're launching our campaign now. We're going to send out a lot of letters, but tonight's the first, and I really appreciate your all.
Thank you.